This is Mamuni. Thank you so much for being Amar Baba.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss how to solve a double column cash book with cash and bank columns plus contra entries. So let's get started. Chalo, shuru kara jak. Please remember, cash book, be it a single column or a double column or a triple column, only records cash transactions and no credit transactions. Okay? Please remember, all cash receipts are recorded on the debit side in the cash column, and all cash payments are recorded on the credit side in the cash column, and all checks received are recorded on the debit side in the bank column, and all checks paid are recorded on the credit side in the bank column. Okay? And please remember, cash column represents cash account and bank column represents bank account. Okay? And please remember, the cash column always shows a debit balance, but the bank column may show a debit balance or a credit balance. If the bank column shows a credit balance, it is known as bank overdraft. What is bank overdraft? Bank overdraft means an arrangement under which a current account holder or bank customer is allowed to withdraw more than the balance to his or her credit up to the specified limit. Overdraft is allowed for a short period and certain rate of interest is charged on this overdraft facility. Okay? Bank overdraft is a kind of loan, and this facility is given to the bank customers and some interest is charged from the customers in return. Okay? So now let's go through the problem. Here is the problem. Cash book, double column. Enter the following transactions in a double column cash book. Here is the column for date. Here is the column for transactions. Here is the amount column. What is the first transaction? 2022 on 1st March, cash in hand is 12,000. Bank overdraft is 15,000. So the cash column shows a debit balance. As I've said earlier, cash column will always show a debit balance. But here, bank overdraft is a credit balance. Bank overdraft means it's a credit balance. So we'll have to write cash in hand in the cash column on the debit side, to balance BD 12,000. And since bank column shows a credit balance, we'll have to write on the credit side by balance BD in the bank column 15,000. Okay? And there will be no journal entry since the opening balances are given. Okay? So let's write. On 1st March, to balance BD, since cash column shows a debit balance. BD how much? 12,000. On the credit side, we'll have to write by balance BD because bank column shows a credit balance. So how much? 15,000. Okay? These balances, these opening balances are given in the problem. So let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 5th March, cash deposited into bank 5,000. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit to cash account. So this is a contra entry. I have already discussed contra entries exclusively in the video titled Contra Entries. Okay, if you're really interested, please check it out. So this is a contra entry. Bank account debit to cash account. Okay, on 5th March, cash deposited into bank 5,000. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit 5,000 to cash account. So this is a contra entry. Okay, there are two types of contra entries. One is bank account debit to cash account. Another one is cash account debit to bank account. So this is a contra entry. So what is a contra entry? A contra entry is a transaction which involves both cash and banks. Since we are doing double column cash book and there are two columns, One is cash column and one is bank column. That is the reason this transaction will involve both cash and bank. Okay? Both the debit aspect and the credit aspect of a transaction will get reflected in the cash book. Side by side entry hobe. Ekta debit e hobe, ekta credit e hobe. Keno? Because debit side of bank account ache, credit side of cash account ache. Understood? Side by side entry hobe. Jodi ekhane furniture account thakto tahole hoto na. Understood? এখানে ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট টু ক্যাপিটাল অ্যাকাউন্ট থাকতো তাহলে হতো না। যদি এখানে ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট টু ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট হয়, ইটস এ কন্ট্রা এন্ট্রি, অর ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট টু ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট হলেও কন্ট্রা এন্ট্রি। Only there are two types of contra entries. One is cash deposited into bank and another one is when cash is withdrawn from the bank for office use. Okay. So now we have to see the position of bank account as well as the position of cash account while doing ledger posting. Okay. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the debit side, cash account will be also on the debit side. So we'll have to write two cash account on the debit side in the cash book in the bank column 5,000. So now you must be wondering where to record 5,000. Since we are looking at the position of bank account, we'll have to record 5,000 in the bank column on the debit side. And another thing is, if you write two cash account, তুমি ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট লিখে ক্যাশ কলামে 5,000 লিখতে পারো, তোমাকে কোথায় লিখতে হবে? ব্যাংক কলামে। ওকে, টু ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট লিখলে you cannot write in the cash column, you have to write in the bank column 5,000. Okay, and of course there is a logic behind it. So let's do it. On 5th March, two cash account, since we're looking at the position of bank account, since bank account is on the debit side, we'll have to write cash account also on the debit side. How much? It should be in the bank column 5,000. Please remember, তুমি যদি two cash account লেখো, you cannot write 5,000 in the cash column. You'll always have to write in the bank column. And moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here, when cash is deposited into bank, bank is the receiver of cash, so bank account will be debited by 5,000. And moreover, when cash is deposited into bank, bank balance is increased, so it should be on the debit side. So bank account should be debited. And when cash is deposited into bank, cash balance gets reduced. So cash balance is reduced and bank balance is increased. Okay. So now we'll have to see from the position of cash account. What is the position of cash account? Since cash account is on the credit side, bank account will also be on the credit side. So we'll have to write by bank account in the cash book on the credit side in the cash column 5,000. Why in the cash column? Because since we're looking at the position of cash account, we'll have to write 5,000 in the cash column. Okay. And another thing is, আমি যখন by bank account লিখবো, we cannot write in the bank column. Understood? This is the logic also behind it. Understood? So let's write. On 5th March, by, since we're looking at the position of cash account, since cash account is on the credit side, bank account will also be on the credit side. So by bank account, how much? Since আমি ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট লিখেছি, আমি ব্যাংক কলামে লিখতে পারবো না, আমাকে কোথায় লিখতে হবে? আমাকে ক্যাশ কলামে লিখতে হবে অলওয়েজ। Understood? Cash column represents cash account. Cash account comes under real account. According to real account, what goes out is credit. Here, when cash is deposited into bank, cash goes out from the business. So cash account will be credited. And when you're depositing cash into the business, cash balance is reduced, but the bank balance is increased. So bank account will be debited and cash account will be credited. And let me write down the narration. Being cash deposited into bank. Cash deposited into bank. Okay. Here also, being cash deposited into bank. Into bank. কেন এটা কন্ট্রা হলো? সাইড বাই সাইড এন্ট্রি, একটা ডেবিট সাইডে জার্নাল এন্ট্রি হলো, একটা ক্রেডিট সাইডে জার্নাল এন্ট্রি হলো। কেন হলো? বিকজ এখানে দুটো কলামই আছে, ক্যাশ কলাম, ব্যাঙ্ক কলাম। সেই জন্য ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট অ্যান্ড ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট বোথ গেটস affected. এখানে ক্যাশ কলাম অ্যান্ড ব্যাঙ্ক কলাম দুটোই আছে, তাই জন্য বোথ ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট অ্যান্ড ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট is involved. So contra entry is an entry which affects both the cash account and the bank account. Okay, just because এখানে দুটো কলাম আছে, ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট অ্যান্ড ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট, আমাকে দুটোর অ্যাসপেক্টে দেখে জার্নাল এন্ট্রি করতে হচ্ছে। ওকে, সো নাও we'll have to write C. And please remember, contra entries are always denoted by writing the letter C in the ledger folio column or LF column. Ledger folio column. Okay, C. And here also by bank account C. C stands for contra. আমাদের contra কেন লিখতে হচ্ছে? বিকজ আমাদের ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট আর ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট প্রিপেয়ার করতে হবে না in the ledger accounts. Okay, we don't have to open cash account and bank account in the ledger accounts. Okay, now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 12th March, income tax paid by check 8,000. So what will be the journal entry? I know most of you will write income tax account debit to bank, which is absolutely wrong. Income tax is a personal expense or private expense of the proprietor. So I have already told you the private expenses of the proprietor will always be termed as drawings account. Okay, so instead of income tax account, we'll write drawings account debit to bank account since check is mentioned. So the journal entry will be income tax account debit to bank account 8,000. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the credit side, drawings account will be also on the credit side. So we'll have to write by drawings account in the cash book on the credit side in the bank column 8,000. Okay, so let's do it. On 12th March, by drawings account, how much? 8,000. By check, so it should be in the bank column. Okay, being income tax paid by check. Okay, and moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. Here, when income tax is paid by the proprietor, check is paid by the bank. So bank account is the giver of the benefit. So bank account will be credited by 8,000. Okay, so now let's see the next transaction. So what is the next transaction? On 20th March, cash withdrawn for office use 6,000. What will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be cash account debit to bank account. So this is a contra entry. This is the second contra entry. Okay, there are only two types of contra entries and this is the second one. So cash account debit to bank account. So this is the entry. This is the second contra entry. Cash account debit 6,000 to bank account. Okay, যখনই ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিটে থাকবে, ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট ক্রেডিটে থাকবে, দিস ইজ আ কন্ট্রা। অর ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিটে থাকবে অ্যান্ড ক্যাশ অ্যাকাউন্ট ক্রেডিটে থাকবে, দিস ইজ আ কন্ট্রা। প্লিজ রিমেম্বার, when bank account is on the debit side and cash account is on the credit side, it is a contra entry. Or cash account is on the debit side and bank account is on the credit side, it is a contra entry. Okay, there are only two types of contra entries. First one is bank account debit to cash account when cash is deposited into bank. Another one is this one, when cash is withdrawn from bank for office use. The journal entry is cash account debit to bank account. So we'll have to look at the position of cash account as well as at the position of bank account while doing ledger posting. So what is the position of cash account? Since cash account is on the debit side, bank account will also be on the debit side. So we'll have to write to bank account in the cash book on the debit side in the cash column 6,000. Okay, so let's write. Since cash account is on the debit side, bank account will also be on the debit side. So we'll have to write to bank account to bank account 6,000. We'll record 6,000 in which column? I told you before also. Bank account लिखले तुम्ही cash column में लिखबे, bank column में ना में तुम्ही bank account लिखे bank এর column में लिखते पारो ना. This is not the rules. When you're writing bank account, you have to write in the cash column. Okay, মনে থাকবে? When you're writing two bank account, you have to record 6,000 in the cash column and not bank column. When you're writing two cash account, you'll have to write 6,000 in the bank column and not in the cash column. Okay, so when you're writing two cash account, you cannot write 6,000 in the cash column. You'll have to write in the bank column. Just the opposite. Okay, so the date is 20th March. Being cash withdrawn for office use. Okay, and moreover, cash column represents cash account. Cash account comes under real account. What comes in is debit. Here, when cash is withdrawn from the bank for office use, cash comes into the business. So cash account will be debited by 6,000. Okay, and here when cash is withdrawn from the bank for office use, cash balance is increased and bank balance is reduced. Okay, now let's see from the point of view of bank account. Since bank account is on the credit side, cash account will also be on the credit side. Okay, so what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the credit side, cash account will be also on the credit side. So we'll have to write by cash account in the cash book on the credit side in the bank column 6,000. Okay, so let's write. Since we're looking at the position of bank account, we'll have to write on 20th March by cash account. By cash account. Cash account e amra 6,000 kothay record korbo, not in the cash column I told you, but in the bank column. Okay, being cash withdrawn for office use. Okay, 6,000. And moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. When cash is withdrawn from the bank for office use, bank is the giver of the benefit. So bank account will be credited by 6,000. Okay, and here when cash is withdrawn from the bank, bank balance is reduced and cash balance is increased. Okay, now we'll have to write C in the ledger folio here also, because C stands for Contra. Okay, so now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 25th March, goods sold and check received 12,000. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit, since check is mentioned, to sales account. Bank account debit to sales account 12,000. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the debit side, sales account will also be on the debit side. So we'll have to write to sales account in the cash book on the debit side in the bank column 12,000. Okay, so let's write. On 25th March, to sales account, how much in the bank column? Because goods sold and received by check 12,000 in the bank column. Okay, being goods sold and check received. Moreover, bank column represents bank account and bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here when goods are sold, check is received by the bank. So bank is the receiver of the benefit. So bank account will be debited by 12,000. Okay, now let's see the last transaction. The last transaction is on 20th March, paid trade expenses by check 1,000. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be trade expenses debit to bank account 1,000. Why? Check is mentioned here. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the credit side, trade expenses will also be on the credit side. So we'll have to write by trade expenses account in the cash book on the credit side in the bank column 1,000. Okay, so let's write. On 20th March, by trade expenses account, how much? 1,000 in the bank column because it is paid by check. being trade expenses paid. Okay, and moreover, bank column represents bank account, and bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. Here, when trade expenses is paid by check, bank is the giver of the benefit, so bank account will be credited by 1000. Okay, and now let's calculate the total of cash column on the debit side and the total of cash column on the credit side. Okay, so the total of cash column on the debit side is 18,000 and the total of cash column on the credit side is 15,000, but we'll have to write 18,000 because the rule is jeta boro sheta likhte hoy. So we'll write 18,000 on both the sides. So there will be a shortfall or the balancing figure in the cash column. So we'll write by balance CD. By balance CD, date will be the last in the month of March. So 31st March, always. So what will be the balancing figure or the closing cash? The total of cash column on the credit side is 15,000 and the total of cash column on the debit side is 18,000. So deduct 15,000 from 18,000 will get 3,000. So what is this 3,000? This 3,000 is the closing cash in hand for the month of March, and it will be brought down beneath the debit total to balance BD 3,000. Why? Because the business will continue. Business has not shut down. This 3,000 is the closing cash for the month of March, and this 3,000 will become the opening cash for the month of April. Okay, 1st April. Similarly, we have to calculate the total of bank column on the debit side and the bank column on the credit side. So what is the total of bank column on the debit side? The total of bank column on the debit side is 17,000 and the total of bank column on the credit side is 30,000. So the rule is whichever is bigger, we have to write the bigger amount on both the sides. So 30,000 on both the sides. Okay. So there will be a shortfall on the debit side because credit total hoche 30,000, kono shortfall nei. But debited total koto? The total of bank column on the debit side is 17,000. So we'll have to write to balance CD in the bank column. What is the date? Last day in the month of March. So what is the shortfall? The total of bank column on the credit side is 30,000 column and the total of bank column on the debit side is 17,000. So deduct 17,000 from 30,000 will get, that will give you 13,000. Okay. So to balance CD 13,000. This is the closing balance of bank. So this is again a credit balance. That means again it's a by balance BD. It's a credit balance means bank overdraft. Our bank overdraft hoche. To balance CD টাকে আমাদের by balance BD লিখতে হবে beneath the credit total. By balance BD always beneath the bank total 13,000. Okay. Again credit balance, that is bank overdraft again. Date will be April 1st. Okay. So now the cash book is balanced. I hope you understood. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your precious time. I sincerely hope this was helpful. And before I fade out, I personally feel learning never ends because all the respected teachers out there are still learning along with the students every day, because teaching is a learning curve. Teaching is a journey which never reaches its destination. So let's enjoy the journey. Bye-bye. Take care, stay safe and stay blessed always.